so much for being with us. Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Boyd. I am the founder and the CEO of Active Defender, and appreciate everyone coming and being a part of our webinar for October. Today, I have with me Mr. Bobby Brasher. He is out of Bullard, Texas. And Bobby, just to help introduce you, you and I have known each other for a while now, but to help everybody else know and appreciate you, I understand you have quite a background in law enforcement as well as some other subjects, but can you tell us a little bit about your law enforcement background before we get started?
Sure. I graduated from Louisiana Tech in sociology and criminology. Went to the police academy in Louisiana and worked 6 years there. Went back to school, got a degree in education, got certified as a certified secondary teacher in Louisiana Department of Education. I love Louisiana. I love the food and the people, but 50% of the state's underwater and the other 50% is under indictment. So I decided to move to Texas, and I came here, got certified by the TEA here in secondary education in Texas, and I've been teaching police operations, behavioral analysis, and then I've been the director of security and safety for the Brook Hill School now for 12 years.
Now, you're a certified teacher also, right? I mean, part
Correct.
of that, not only certified in law enforcement.
Correct. And I'm a Texas Department of Public Safety firearms instructor and general police academy instructor as well. So I'm also certified as a plainclothes protection agent, and we do a lot of personal protection for congressmen, senators, foreign dignitaries who don't have Secret Service protection or Capitol Police protection when they come to Texas. I do a good bit of that, along with work here at my school. And then I do consulting for other schools and school districts, and I lead in trainings and do assessments for other schools as well.
I think I saw on recently, just in the last couple of weeks, you did security for Ben Carson even.
Right? Yes, Dr. Ben Carson came to Tyler, and we had a protection detail. The state senator from Tyler wrote the heartbeat bill here in Texas that passed into law, pro-life. And there was quite a pushback from some folks on the other side who were pro-abortion, and so we had quite a robust security footprint for Dr. Carson while he was here in East Texas.
Well, listen, we are at 3:05, and I know you have an incredible presentation because I saw some of it, and I know you're passionate about security and helping teachers and schools and businesses and churches. So I'm going to let you just address that. I want to thank everybody for coming. Mr. Bobby Brasher with us here now for the next probably 40 minutes on the seminar. And I know he'll take any questions you have. And Bobby, if you can hit that little slide thing and start your slide presentation, then I'm going to turn it over to you and let you run this.
Okay. I just hit it, and let me see here. Got the video presentation. I don't see a slide.
The slide one is down at the bottom. Let's see. I might be able to. There you go.
Oh, that's.
No, hit stop that one. All right, let's see. How about, let me see if I can start it for you. Can you see the next button?
Yeah, I can see that, but I don't have a button to progress it.
You don't see the next button down below the slide?
No.
Okay, let me.
Wait. Go back to where you were.
Okay, I'll start it again. Hold on a minute.
Okay, start it again. Okay, here you go. There's a little bit about me. Technology is great when it works. When it doesn't work, you ask yourself, why do they call it technology? Anyway, well, welcome everyone from sunny Texas. I'm glad to be here. It's an honor to be here with Jim and with some of my peers in the educational world. Like I said, I've been involved in education and law enforcement for over 20 years. I am presently in the director of security at the Brook Hill School. The Brook Hill School is a college prep, Christian-based international boarding school with both day and boarding students. We cover about 288 acres here. We have 751 students. We have 5 dormitories. We have about 125 boarding students that are here 24/7. We have a very high profile of student here at Brook Hill. We have diplomats' kids. We have foreign heads of state. We have a Nobel Peace Prize winners' kids here, members of several royal families. One prime minister from the Middle East, his children's here. So security is a very high priority for us here. Like I told Jim, I've been here 12 years. And we basically built the security footprint from the ground up. So I kind of know where all the minefields are in security for a facility because I've been in most of them. Part of our footprint, just to give you a little overview of what we have here, since we do have that type of clientele and student here, which makes us a little bit unique from charter schools, public schools, and a lot of private schools, because we do have a dormitory component. It's basically like a college, but we have 150 cameras, have 4 license plate readers. We record every car that comes on and goes off camera. We vet every vendor that comes on campus. We have 2 full-time police officers here. We utilize the Raptor background check system for sex offenders and warrants. We have an ID swipe card system to swipe into every door here, much like on college campuses. We use the active defender cell notification system to notify anytime that we have medical, intruder, weather, which a lot of people overlook that, but in the state of Texas, weather is huge because last year we had 174 tornadoes, and we lead the nation every year in that. So weather is a big deal for us. We also have, Texas is a little bit unique because we have the opportunity to have armed staff. And so we have armed staff here that we have one on every wing of every floor. They're trained by the DPS, certified and commissioned by the Texas Department of Public Safety. And I'm an instructor, so I pretty much oversee all of their training. We have a 4-man CAT team that is works with SWAT and carries rifles, and we have vests and all that. So we're a little bit different, from a lot of schools that are out there. In all of that, the most important thing that I think, after being doing this for a long time, is to have communication. We get that from Active Defender, and then the staff training. The firearms, the police, all that stuff is great, the cameras, but if you don't have a well-trained staff, you are not going to proactively be able to mitigate any of the problems that you have. So to me, the staff training is the most important thing. And a lot of this is kind of in my sweet spot because of the sociology and criminology background. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the FBI behavioral analysis training and to NTAC, which is the National Threat Assessment Center that's run by the Secret Service. First thing that I want you to understand as teachers, you are the first responders. It's not the police. And for years, we had a hard time convincing police officers that they weren't the first responders. They were the first responders in a force-on-force situation where you have guns, but teachers are the first responders. They are the emotional first responders and the psychological first responders. They will see many of these signs that I'm going to give to you in the next few minutes before the police ever get there. Some of the things that we deal with now, risk from the post-pandemic, and this is what comes exactly from the Secret Service, and what they're seeing is they break down and profile school shootings and violence in schools. Negative news. All you have to do is turn the TV on. Positive news is very hard to find. Negative news leads the day. It gets more clicks. It gets higher rating. And that filters down. Political division. the political division that we have in our country between the right and the left and the independents and all are risk factors that psychologically filter down. The politics in DC and what you see on TV in Washington filters down to the state level, and from the state level down to the local level, and from the local level, it drifts into the classroom. And the teachers are the people who have to have some really difficult and awkward conversations with the world that we live in now. It could be cultural difficulties that they're asked about in their classroom. It could be school policy that some people see it a little differently. It could be sexuality conversations with the LGBTQ movement and a teacher's personal stance on that. So it's really a risk factor in this post-pandemic, plus the economic hardships where people are losing their jobs, dad can't work. Those hardships are felt psychologically in the home with the mom, the dad, and the kids. So, what we want to do is be aware of that. We want to be where we're in tune with what goes on and our students. And, that's probably, Jim asked me about my passion. Probably my passion is, I enjoy being outdoors. I enjoy being on the range and teaching firearms, but my real passion is teacher staff training. It just drives me up the wall every time you have a school violence incident or a school shooting like we had in South Dallas 2 weeks ago. They had the TV broadcasters out there, and they had the microphones in front of different people's faces, parents and teachers. And when a teacher says, we never thought it would happen here, tears streaming down her cheeks, and we didn't know what to do. We were not sure what to do. We hadn't been trained for this. This is not what I got an education for. It really strikes a chord for me because with the right training, our teachers can be prepared and they can be trained to be able to react in a positive way. So, the first step here is situational awareness. And it's a sixth sense. It's awareness that teachers have. It's a gut feeling. It's an intuition. It's a state of reaction about an event in progress, but also that one is fixing to happen. And teachers are very, very aware of this. They have the vision of circumstance. What is going on with these students? What's going on in my school? What is fixing to happen? And what could be the fallout from that? So, what makes us a target? Well, in situational awareness, and this is I have 40 minutes, but this is a 90-minute training that I do in police academies and with a lot of schools and a lot of school teachers and administrations. So I'm only getting to scratch the surface here. But what makes us a target or makes you a target is you deal in large crowds. You're seen as a soft target because there have been so many shootings, and by the time that the first responders gets there, it's pretty much over. The attacker sees them as victims. Most of the time, they're confined in a fixed space, be it a classroom, be it in at a restaurant setting. You can take these situations and you can transform them to your life and to your family. And a lot of this is going to be educational. I want you to learn and be able to educate your parents, your families, and your coworkers. Most of the time they're facing away from attacks. If you're at a ball game, you're watching the game. If you're in church, you're watching the pastor or the music, and you have your back to the attacker. If you're in a movie theater, most of the time you're watching a movie screen, and all this is played out before. And most of the time you're immobilized in your workspace or in a seating area, and there's no quick escape. So you want to have a plan. You want to be thinking, how do I get out of here? What's my avenue of escape? How do I get out of here quickly? All right, now behavioral analysis. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the factors in a pre-attack indicator before something happens. And teachers are very aware of this. It's not so much that they don't understand this, it's they do understand it, but a lot of times there's not communication ongoing after they observe some of these characteristics. Now, no boring PowerPoint is complete without having a few statistics in here. So I always have to throw this in here, and I wanted to leave it. 92% of the attackers had an observable characteristics of a pre-attack behavior. And we'll talk about that. The second thing is 91% had a family-related risk factor, and you teachers know that. The Secret Service now calls this a stressor. That would be abuse, neglect, financial hardship, and divorce. All of those are on the rise, matter of fact. And then 89% have experienced an academic failure or subject to disciplinary action. And there's not a teacher out there that can't point out somebody who has had some type of incident that didn't fall into one of these categories, either financial hardship, divorce, disciplinary action, or a combination of several. So this is a big teaching point that we're going to talk about a little bit. Baseline analysis of baseline, or baseline analysis, is, from the first day of school, when the student walks into a teacher's class, or when they walk past an assistant principal or superintendent, there is that profiling that goes on, that first impression that a student makes on you. And it's made by the appearance, well-dressed, maybe not so well-dressed, in uniform, out of uniform, depending on your school and your school policy. What's their psychological demeanor? Do they speak to you? Do they look you in the eye? What's their academic baseline? And then their social interaction with the class. Now, teachers, it does not take them long to figure out what the baseline is for each student in their class. And you may have little Tom Brady, and he comes in with the starched khakis and a great button-down shirt. And then you might have little Tony Romo, whose hair is a mess and he looks like Dennis the Menace, but he's sharp as a tack, and he is smart, and the kids love him. And so, the appearance, the psychological, the social interaction, you ask him a question, he's always got his hands up. Those are your baselines. And when we get outside of baselines, then we start recognizing that there's some red flags, and teachers do a great job of this. Like I say, a lot of times they don't have an intentional way to report it. And that's one of the things that I really try to harp on when I teach this in the long version. Secret Service says, get to know your students. This is the most important component. The more you know about a student, families like it, students like it, because it is family interest. It is what's going on with my family, what's going on with my grades, my life, my extracurricula, and I'll get a little bit into that more. But most important thing is get to know your students. And most teachers do this, but it's really hard when you change in class and you teach 100 kids a day, or whatever that number might be, depending on what academic area you're in. But get to know your students as well as you can. What's the family dynamic, which is a really key to being able to dig into a student. Is it a student that's got single mom? Is it a traditional family, mom and dad? We're seeing same-sex marriages, which you need to know that. Are grandparents raising the children because mom and dad are both out of the equation? Is one of them in the military, so one's on deployment and is gone? All these factors that you can go. Like I say, this is family interest. What's the situation of the family? Who is the point person for their educational needs? Who do you talk to about the emotional needs? Some families, the dad you call and he is in charge of the education. Some, the dad's working and you're dealing with mom. So, teachers all know that they're dealing with some different person, and that dynamic changes from family to family. Now, really important component here is hobbies. Is because if it's their hobbies, it's a great interest for them and their family. So it should be something that you dig into a little bit. Okay, hobbies could be athletics, they could be outdoorsmen, they could be in cheer, they could be in club soccer, tumbling, drama, any number of extracurricular activities. But the more you know about them and what their hobbies are, the better you can serve them educationally, but also you build that interest, you build that bond, and you build that family interest. And if you have to make that call home, or if you have to make that contact with that family, it will make it go a lot better. And it'll give you another insight that will help us as school security professionals. Of course, academic and classroom engagement is very, very important as far as with regards to a student's demeanor, his psychological outlook. If he likes your class, we dig into that. We try to make sure that we have as much background as we can get. Are there personal setbacks? This again is, do you know your family? Do you know your students? Are you able to make that connection that they'll be able to share with you? Or maybe it's not them, maybe it's a friend of theirs who will come to you and tell you, little Tony Romo's parents are going through a divorce, or his mom just got a bad cancer diagnosis, or whatever that is. And then if that's the case, that's a red flag. Also, isolation tendencies. If you have little Tony Romo and he's the life of the party and he's at the lunch table and all of a sudden he starts sitting at a table by himself and he doesn't seem to have the friends that he had earlier, that's a red flag. So then we get into the evidence of desperation and hopelessness. These are two of the next red flags on the Secret Service ladder to carrying out an attack. Within these, then you'll find out, well, do they have the capacity to carry out an attack? Their psychological demeanor, what are some of their characteristics? How do they act? How do they write? How do they speak? Are they inside that baseline of analysis, or are they outside of those baselines for whatever reason? Then we go to, do they have access to weapons? All of this getting to know your family that I talked about in the last two slides about family interest and getting to know the family, that is all 100% true. But besides that being family interest for us in the security world, that's intelligence. That lets us know that little Billy, who's having a hard time, is they're big hunters. And so he has access to weapons. He knows how to operate a weapons platform. He possibly would have access to a weapon. And if you have these other red flags, this is something that we would need to know. Also, ironically, one of the examples that we ran into about a year ago was a robotics student who was really good at building stuff and robotics, and he fit into a couple of these categories. And his personal setback was his girlfriend had broken up with him, and so he had the intelligence and he had the information and he had the components to build a bomb. And so we looked and found out and did some research, and a robotics teacher asked some questions, noticed some of these tendencies, and we were able to get in front of that at this particular school. And this kid was arrested on domestic terrorism charges. So, then that access to a weapon and knowledge and all this information, this is why I say that the teachers are the first responders. I want to go into this evidence of attack planning just a little bit, because here is a letter or a note or a plan that was drawn up in an art class. And while this student was drawing a picture of grapes in a vase and doing some drawing, he had another sheet of paper over here and he was drawing a bomb, and he had his list of what he needed: black t-shirts, black powder, a blasting cap or a fuse. He listed it all out. Now, this is very open. So many times in their writings and in their art class, they won't be quite as open with this. Our teachers go through this training, and our art teacher brought this to me, and we were able to have a conversation with him and with his parents, and I got out in front of this particular situation. That's why we spend extra time with art teachers, English teachers, guidance counselors, nurses, as we do this training. Here's another one. This came from the behavioral analysis unit in the FBI, and I just borrowed their slide here. It says, "My sanity is slowly drifting away from me. I plan to purchase a pipe bomb and build a pipe bomb and buy a Tech 9 when I'm 18, which is 6 months before the end of school." Well, what that does is that tells you that he is having some emotional issues. He is starting to have evidence of attack planning. He's got a timeline. He knows that he wants a pipe bomb. He wants a Tech 9. So he has started down this path of planning of an attack. Now, that letter was also, and I will just tell you, I get probably once or twice a year, I'll have an English teacher that will bring me a writing and say, "Look at this and help me to see if I'm just being paranoid, that you're making me paranoid, or if there is some concern here." A couple of times there's been nothing to it, but one time we found a kid that was having some of these thoughts. We got him into counseling, and he's been a good contributor and graduated at our school. So, some of those are written and drawing, but some of these outcries are just very open, and any teacher can see, or any food service person or any housekeeper can see, this kid right here, there needs to be some contact. Make sure they're okay. Maybe they got some bad news. Maybe something's going on with them, but you can see this quite openly, and you can see this on a regular basis at a lot of schools. We make sure that we make contact with all these kids that are there, and it may not be anything to it. Also, there's another one. It could be, I'm having a hard time. My dog just died. My dad and my mom are having getting a divorce, or it could be that I didn't study for this test. So pre-attack indicators, fidgeting, looking about nervously, shuffling of feet, hands in pockets, inappropriate behavior. These are the standards. Now I'm running through this pretty quickly because I need to get to the really important stuff. Decision during stress, it tunnel vision, heavy breathing, heart rate accelerates, fine motor skills start to deteriorate. And you can see that in the classroom. I've seen teachers that got to this stress level when there was an incident in their classroom. Be proactive. Do you have a plan? You got to have a plan. Do you know what you're going to do? We're here with the National Threat Assessment Survey. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Child abduction. We have human trafficking and sex trafficking that is on the rise. There's three main categories in the FBI. One is profit motivated. The second one is custody motivated and custody abductions, and then sexually motivated abductions. For us in the school business, the custody motivated one is you have custody and divorce decrees and who has custody and if it's joint custody. And this is where your secretary, your school APs have to be on point, because these things can change every 30 days. And you don't want to let a child go with someone who does not have custody, because there's been several instances where kids have been taken out and harmed because by a parent who did not have custody. Then the school is really in a bad spot when it comes to that. Okay, the gateway to exploitation and abduction is the internet. The FBI says that parents who let their kids keep their devices all night long are putting them at great risk, because there's pedophiles out there, and parents do not let their kids keep their cell phones and all, and keep them safe. Unfortunately, teachers, we have a whole subculture of our parents who think nothing about letting their kids have their notebook, their iPad, their laptop, and they're communicating, they're playing games. This is from the Apple Store. That's just one of about 50 pages of exorcism, demonic games, killing animals, torturing animals. And we've seen 3rd and 4th graders, not at my school, but in the East Texas Task Force, where 3rd and 4th graders are on Pornhub looking at really bad pornographic materials at night. So I would just encourage you to tell your parents, don't let your kids keep those phones with them all night. They could be playing one of these interactive games and playing with a pedophile in a big city or somewhere across the country, trying to build a relationship with them where they can meet them at the mall or meet them at a fast food restaurant, which is what happens most of the time. The locations are parking lots, playgrounds, malls, and bus stops. What we do at our school is every time we go on a field trip, these kids here are fixed to go on a college visit. We take a picture of them before they get on the bus. That way we have a picture of them on a cell phone in real time, where if we lose one or somebody gets lost, I can take that picture and I can send it to the chaperones, to our security force, and to the police officers at the university or wherever we might be, at the ballpark or at a football game. They've got the hair, the glasses, what they're wearing. And we found several kids that we've shot these pictures all to the security people, and they found them by having that picture right there in hand. Because if you take a picture and pull it back from their first day of school in August, and it's at the semester or in the spring, they will look nothing like it. Hair will be longer. They'll be changed. They may have braces. Using a cell phone can be a good piece of technology when it's used in the right direction. Now, the external factors that we're dealing with in education today, critical race theory, increased drug exposure, mask mandates, vaccine mandates, gender identification debate, and there's some real awkward, tough questions for teachers along those lines, and then educational curriculum and the pros and the cons of what's being taught in our schools. And there's a huge debate going on. I'll be in Virginia, matter of fact, in 3 weeks, and then in North Carolina in the spring. And I'll be going into a lot of this stuff in greater detail. But this is one of the things I want to talk. If you look right here on the left, this is Cheetos. We've seen this here in Texas. On the right, it does not say Cheetos. It says Weetos. This is THC, marijuana-laced snacks and candies and chips. This bottom row, and it doesn't say cinnamon toasted crunch like you would find at your grocery store. It says Cannabon toasted crunch. This is THC, marijuana-laced snacks and bags. Again, teachers, help us educate your parents, because we have seen this, and there's been instances where teachers have taken and given this to students. This is legal in some states, and in Canada, we're seeing where students are going online, Instagram, Snapchat, and finding basically a drug dealer. They're Venmoing them the money, and they're sending them packages and boxes to their house or to a friend's house with this marijuana-laced candies and snacks. Here's a Skittles. Now the right is Skittles original packaging and markings on it. The Skittles on the left is marijuana and THC dip Skittles. You can see I've circled, those are marijuana leaves, what I've circled on the left here. It looks exactly like it. We've had parents that could not tell the difference. And unless you're intentional about it, you will miss it. This is why it's so critical for you teachers who have children, you teachers in your classroom, and your parents to double check their Halloween candy to make sure, because there is quite a bit of this going around, and parents and students do not even know about it. These Cheetos are not Cheetos on the left and right. They're Weetos, and they're marijuana laced snacks. So this is something I'll send a letter out at Halloween to our families, telling them to be aware of this, because this is out there. These are gummies from Canada. You can see I pulled this right off the internet. THC gummies. There is not a third or a fourth grader in America if they're out there and will turn one of these down, a gummy, because kids will, in our society, are taught to share, and nobody will pass up a good gummy. Even some teachers will pick these gummies up and try one if they don't know. So, teachers, again, we need to be alert. We need to understand this is out there, and this is something that we have to be very intentional about. Now, this next, this THC is from Canada as well. This is liquid form. It's dropped in vapes, where vaping is a huge electric. E-cigarettes are a huge problem at a lot of schools, but this is how they get this. This can be bought from Canada, sent to their home, and they can make their own marijuana vape. All right, this is what really scares me here, Jim. If we can get this video to play, we've been trying to get it to play. All right,
I'm San Diego County Sheriff Bill Gore. What you're about to see is dramatic body-worn camera footage involving one of our deputies who was exposed to fentanyl during his patrol shift.
You're okay. You're okay. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. There's nothing to be sorry about. I got you, okay? I got you, okay? I'm not going to let you die. It's okay. Just focus. Okay, breathing, okay? Breathing, okay? Focus on it. Focus on it. I need Narcan. I need Narcan. I'm Corporal Scott Crane in the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. My trainee was exposed to fentanyl and nearly died. It was our first radio call of the day, and this was Deputy Five Eyes radio call. He found a white substance that he suspected was drugs.
It's a powder. It's a powder. Cocaine or fentanyl.
This stuff's no joke. I was like, hey, dude, too close. You can't get that close to it. A couple seconds later, he took some steps back and he collapsed. I ran over to him, and I grabbed him, and he was ODing. And went to my trunk, I grabbed the Narcan, came down to him, grabbed him, and I did one nasal spray in one nostril, opened the other one, another nasal spray in the other one.
I remember just not feeling right, and then I fall back, and I don't remember anything after that.
Just breathe, buddy. Trying to get him to focus on just breathing, and because that fentanyl, you can't breathe.
It was in an instant. It's as though my lungs just locked up. I couldn't breathe. I was trying to gasp for breath, but I couldn't breathe at all.
Five, are you okay? Talk to me. Oh, no. Don't be sorry. You're okay. Don't be sorry. There's nothing to be sorry about. I got you, okay? I'm not going to let you die. I need Narcan! I got you. I'm trying to not let him go. I wanted him to know he wasn't alone. It's an invisible killer. He would have died in that parking lot if he was alone. Fire department got there, put him on the gurney, his eyes rolled back in his head, and he started to OD again. And he was ODing the whole way to the hospital.
I don't think people realize the severity of just how deadly it really is. I'm Deputy David Five Eye, and I almost died of fentanyl overdose.
One of the greatest threats we currently face is a synthetic opioid, fentanyl, which is 50 times more potent than heroin. Fentanyl overdoses are on the rise throughout our county. Every day, deputies recover fentanyl in our communities. And the county jails are not immune either to the dangers of this drug. Every week, sheriffs
You got it, Bobby. You'll need to turn your mic back on. See if you can turn your mic back on in the top left corner.
I'm on. Now I got to get the slides, find the slide again.
There we go.
Okay. Folks, I just want to tell you, you're hearing from a guy I've been shot at. I know what it's like to have a bullet go zipping by you, been cut. This is scarier than all of that. We're seeing this fentanyl come across the border. What is happening? There is enough fentanyl right here by this penny to kill everybody that's on this video right now, that is on this Zoom training, because it is 100 times more powerful than heroin or morphine. How's it getting here? It's getting here through the southern border. Through this picture came from the Border Patrol, where they were carrying bales of it across or scaling the wall. Now, the latest FBI reports, China and it is taking the raw materials and sending the raw materials over here with the instructions, and the cartel in Mexico is manufacturing it. They're manufactured in pill form, in powder form, in liquid form, and in spray form, which in nasal spray, the liquid form, they're putting it in vapes, and the pills are just stamping them with numbers, 5 milligrams, 20 milligrams, 30 milligrams, but it's very deadly. We had a pre-K student several counties over who got into some fentanyl powder, and the baby was dead, or the toddler was dead before that the police could even get there. Also, at one of the college prep schools in Dallas, we had a college prep kid who was junior and had a cold. He took a pill from a friend of his who said, "This is for colds." He did not know that it was a fentanyl-laced pill. He took it, went home, laid down, told his mom he didn't feel good. She went in there to get him for dinner a couple hours later, and he was gone. So this fentanyl is very, very scary. I encourage all of our folks, and everywhere I go, tell your children and your students, do not take a pill from somebody else. If it's not an adult or a healthcare individual, this fentanyl is very, very scary. Now, my question, do you have Narcan at your school? We have EpiPens, we have AEDs, and now we have Narcans. Now, our geographic location is a lot closer to the border than I know where y'all are, and as y'all are on the East Coast. But believe me, they are, without getting political, they are sending these folks to the East Coast, to the Midwest, and to the West Coast. And many times our local officials are not being notified. So this stuff is going to work its way up there if it's not there already. And, Narcan, one of these packages is only about $45. So it's you can't put a dollar amount on a child's head, but this is cheap. And I would just encourage all schools to get some. All right. Now, I want to end up with this right here. This is something we're starting to see: demonstrations, school board disruptions, very passionate parents. And where this is important, we're all seeing this, is for our teachers and our administrators, is you need to make sure that your emergency operation plan is updated. You've got your policies in line where you have updates and challenges to what you're teaching. If you're going to have a school board meeting, get with your IT people, make sure that you have 3 or 4 cameras in there, not only on the inside to be able to film that for video evidence, but on the outside in a parking lot where if anything should happen out there, you've got good video evidence. Now, for teachers, the takeaway for y'all is a lot of lawsuits are coming out of this. These different students and what's being said in your classroom, you need to make sure and be aware that your emails, your notes, any communication could be subpoenaed, and that you could have to turn over all your information for discovery if there's a lawsuit. So you want to make sure that you are taking great care when you communicate about a student or what they said to another teacher. and make sure that you're on good, solid legal footing. Unfortunately, the world we live in today is changed. You can't say that Little John was not very smart. Maybe you have to say that Little John has experienced some academic struggles in some areas. So with those two slides here, I just wanted to go over that. Now, who we train, very important. We train our teaching staff. We train everybody at my school, and when I go to school, we got to train the maintenance crew. They are the people on the perimeter. They see every car coming in, going out, as well as our license plate readers. This is Leonardo. Leonardo's cutting the grass. Last spring, he got off of his mower. He called me and he said, "Mr. Brasher, there's a guy just pulled on here. He don't look right." Come to find out, we made contact with him. He had been arrested twice, had felony warrants out for him, had been deported once. He was a Mexican national. He was there to see our girl track team practice when we took him off in handcuffs. So it would have not happened, but of the training and the being intentional to let them know. Our housekeepers, very, very secret weapons, because kids don't pay any attention. They know where every kid is hiding their contraband. They know where they're hiding this. They know what little doors and compartments they're going to do a smooch in or whatever, but they are good eyes and ears. We train them. Also, our cafeteria workers, we train them. Our school nurses, transportation staff gets trained because they see every house that they pick these kids up. They know what the demeanor is of the house. They know what things look like, who's there. They're a great source of intelligence if they're trained. As I close, like I said, besides teacher training, we have communication, active defender, emergency notification. This is a key component to our security footprint. And also, the National School Threat Assessment. We're big on that. It takes about 20 minutes and it's anonymous online. It's a great reflector for schools and school personnel. It's broken up into elementary teachers, secondary teachers, non-teaching staff, which maintenance, food service, transportation, and administrators. And it's anonymous, and it's a great first step in a self-evaluation of your security of your school. With that, Jim, I'm done. I'll be glad. I'll stay online as long as I need to. Any questions, any comments, I'm here.
All right, Bobby, we have several questions that have come in if you want to go through. And just several people asked the same question. Let me respond to this directly. The question that is the most common one is, will this video be available to show to my teachers or to show to our staff? Some of you had that from multiple people. Yes, we're going to make this available online for you for the next week. This way, if you need it beyond that, if you'll reach out to myself or to Bobby, I'm sure we can make some other arrangements if you can't get to it to show them within the next week. So Bobby goes across the country helping schools and school systems and does the full presentation also. So Bobby, now with that in mind, let me go back through several of the questions that came through. I have right. It says, when we have, this is one of the first, is when we have a red flag. I think this was when you were talking about the baseline for behavioral analysis. And we had a staff member from a school in North Carolina. This is when we have a red flag in regard to a child's change in demeanor, then how and what should we do in regard to reporting it?
Okay, good question. What we normally do is in the training, we will set up a crisis team of teachers, counselors, maybe a nurse, and what I'll do is I'll find out what class that's in, and if that student has other teachers, we will go and check what the demeanor has been in the other the classes to see if the student is exhibiting like red flags in other classes. And then we'll find out from the counselor or the nurse, medications, home life, We'll have a crisis management meeting to find out who knows the family. Maybe the English teacher doesn't know them, but the math teacher knows them. And or his best friend is in somebody's class, and we're able to have a nurse or a guidance counselor speak with the best friend and say, what is little Susie going through some hard times? Can you tell us what's going on? She seems to be very down or whatever the issue is. But we will do an investigation on that with our crisis management team. In the state of Texas, by law, every school has to have a crisis management team. I found out in going other states that not everybody has to have one. So we pull, and we create a crisis management team. And then we have a support team that I help schools put together to be able to have an intentional reporting path and follow-up of just what that teacher was concerned about. Because this culture that we live in today, and with kids being under the pressure that they're under, we're seeing a lot of that. Great question.
Perfect. Here's several people asked questions, and I'm going to read one of them in particular on this subject. There was 2 or 3 questions from a variety of schools about the pictures, taking the pictures of the kids. We had 2 folks in particular that asked, do I need parental consent to take these pictures? This, I think, is where you were talking about if you go on a field trip, take a picture of the child. So if something happens, you've got a current picture with the clothing they're wearing and sending out. So one of the ones says, actually 2 of them, do I need parental consent? And another one asks, would it be okay, or have you ever dealt with it for speed's sake, putting maybe 3 kids together in a picture? So,
okay. Now, depending on the school and the school attorney, I've seen attorneys that said, you know what, capturing their likeness as a school student is part of their normal educational process, and especially with videos and all that we're using and the drama and the speech and all. But what I would suggest to a school, it doesn't hurt at all to have an email and respond back. We are going to be capturing your child's picture for internal security, and we will not let it out to the public because of the field trip. Eventually, I have about 3 or 4 kids that out of our 700 that I can't take their picture. One is a lead Secret Service agent who has put a lot of bad people in jail, and his kids are here. We don't want their pictures out there. We have a prime minister from a foreign country. We don't want her picture out there, so we take no likeness or no images of them at all. But far and beyond, everybody is good with it. But what we do is after they take that, we get back on those field trips or they return home, we just delete that whole group of pictures, and they're gone until the next one.
Perfect. If you have other questions about that, go ahead and chat in regard to that. Here's a question in regard to the marijuana-laced snacks, and it said in terms of the to look at the bags, but it said in terms of the gummies, are there any indicators? I mean, how would I know? And Bobby, I believe I've even seen on Amazon, if they search marijuana gummies or something like that, they're available, everything. And here's another question in that same realm. I kind of grouped it together so I can share with you a couple things. You mentioned that some of these were legal in some states. What states are they legal in? And could you elaborate on that?
Okay. The states where it's legal to manufacture are California, Colorado, Florida are the 3 major states that we've seen that from. Now, there's a debate on if it's legal to distribute it and to mail it. I read recently where under the Federal Farm Act, if it's smaller than 0.03 grams, that you can send it, and legally under the Federal Farm Act. If it's above that, you can't. But most of these are being, the FDA does not oversee it, that does not, it's like CBD oil, that you never know how many levels and what's the strength of a lot of it. They put mostly mass and weight when they put it on the bottle. So it's really, it's really not very well regulated at all, or any.
So here's a kind of question that went along with that. Another they posted again says, does it affect, would I see a difference in the demeanor of a child that was taking this? Is this something that would affect them? In other words, like making them high?
Yes. Yeah, a student that's high, for the most part, but it's like every other question. Every student's different. Every weight's different. Every demeanor's different. So, but for the most part, if you see, and it won't be one student that's laughing and out of control, it'll usually be 3 or 4 or 5 because they're on the playground or they're sharing. So some of those factors would be outwardly recognizable.
All right. I have 2 more questions left. That's it. One is, do we need a prescription, or how do we go about learning more about Narcan and having it in our school? And there's a kind of a little second part to that. This is still that first question, though, is should it be just in the nursing station, or do you recommend this as something that each teacher should have as part of their classroom supplies?
Okay, for the first question, you have to have a prescription for Narcan. What we did, Narcan in those packages in that box, there's 2 different applications in there, two nasal sprays. And so what we did is we got a prescription for it from our medical provider here at our school. And everywhere that we have an AED and everywhere that we have an EpiPen, we just broke them and we put one in there. Our nurses have them in their office, and then our ERT team, armed responders, on their vest in their medical kit has got one. So I think at our school we've got about 15 different stations where we have 15 different EpiPens, 15 different AEDs as well. They're pretty. An EpiPen periodically will not discharge the pharmaceuticals that's in it to stop the attack. So you need to have a backup for it. But the Narcan is so low tech, as far as I have to do is put in there and squeeze it, and it's coming out. They don't have to inhale it. They don't have to breathe it. They cannot be breathing, but it will go through the nose and the nose fibers and get to the brain, and it will reverse the effects of a fentanyl without them even breathing it in.
Right. So here's the last question. It really comes from me. Are you open to how could folks get in touch with you? Can I share your email with them, or how could I best provide a contact so that
absolutely,
superintendents?
Yeah, just send my email, my school, or my consulting email, and my cell phone. I don't care. If I can help a school, they can call me.
Bobby, what's your cell phone number you want to give them? What's the area code? And I'll type it in the chat right here.
903-312-7390. I have that with me 24/7.
903-312-7390. Did I get it?
Correct.
All right. I just pushed that out to everybody. Okay. Well, with that, it is 4:00. We went a little over. We knew we would with questions and answers. So it's been an hour. I want to thank you all so much. I know this is pushed out for our Active Defender customers, and thank you. And we're glad to be able to support you all, and so glad to have Mr. Bobby Brasher with us today. And once again, Bobby's going to be joining me. He'll be at a conference with me in Virginia in about 2 weeks, right? We'll be up there in Fairfax. Anybody that happens to be around for that. And I think you're a key presenter in March at the Excellence in Education that's going to be in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Correct. Again, I'll be there.
So when Bobby's on the East Coast, if you'd like to have him at your school, please reach out to him. He's excellent, just in person. It was great today on video, but in person, even over the top to have him there with you and your staff, and I'd encourage you all to do that. Thanks again. God bless everyone. Have a great day.